Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save a little bit of time to take live questions. However, we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in, but I want to make sure those questions get answered, so I gather them up and we address them here on companion videos. With that down and out of the way, guys, let's dive right into it. And we're going to start getting caught up with Bo Big HHB3, who writes, "Congratulations, John. Feige hired you as a producer / caster for Captain Marvel sequel. Would you use makeup to age Lashana Lynch or hire a Viola Davis for the role?" Well, I'm not going to get into which actor should play it because I don't like to talk about or try to answer which actor could play X role. To me, that's a pointless conversation. But the general question is an interesting one. Would I bring back Lashana or get another actress to play her aged up? Interesting question, actually. Well, I guess it would all start with, is Lashana still alive? Right? Because the way, I can't go into spoiler stuff on Captain Marvel, but let's put it this way. The way Captain Marvel goes, you would almost think we would have seen her around. And we haven't. So I'm not even convinced she's still alive in the world today, in modern time, right? So I'm not convinced of that. But okay, let's say for argument's sake, she is still alive. I think I make up her up. The chemistry, they've already started to build a chemistry between her and Brie Larson. So why not continue that chemistry? It's a lot easier to age somebody up with makeup than it is to age them down. And they did a great job aging Samuel Jackson down. Everybody thinks it was all digital, but I'm telling you what, I saw behind the scenes candid photos, and Samuel Jackson didn't look much different just in his candid behind the scenes photos for Captain Marvel as he did on the screen. So maybe they did a little bit of digital work, but they didn't do a lot. I'll tell you that right now, but whatever. I would bring her back because of the chemistry they've already kind of developed between them. So that's what I would do at any rate. Alan Gonzalez writes, "Thanks, Star-Lord, for another movie. Indeed, James Gunn, of course, that's been the big story of the week. James Gunn is coming back to do Guardians of the Galaxy and doing Suicide Squad 2. It's a great day, ladies and gentlemen." All right. Ann Mall writes, "Guardians of the Galaxy 3 looks like 2023 release, probably 6 years after 2, which is long. How do you think it'll affect the box office, or will we see them sooner in other films?" Well, we're going to see them in Avengers Endgame. One way or the other, we're going to see them, even if they're just in for 5 minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see them pop up in another movie. But here's the thing. The difference between Guardians of the Galaxy going 6 years or 5 years between sequels and, say, another franchise doing that is that Guardians of the Galaxy is inside the MCU. And it's not like we're going to be waiting 6 years in between MCU movies, right? So maybe we're 6 years between that and another Guardians movie. We're going to get like 2 or 3 MCU movies as we go. So I think that mitigates that long wait in between sequels so much. So no, honestly, I don't think the wait is going to hurt the box office at all. 6 years, it'll be fine. I mean, would it be better if it came a little sooner? Sure. Was Disney planning on doing it a little sooner? Yes, before the whole drama with James Gunn happened. But honestly, because it's inside the MCU, I don't see it being that big of a deal. Tyler Yeats writes, "Well, I did it. I decided to apply to grad school. Good for you. A master's in professional counseling. I can do this. I've got a couple of friends who got their master's degree in counseling. Good on you, Tyler. It's always, look, more education is never a bad thing. More education. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say more education is the be all end all. It'll solve all your problems. I'm not saying that. But having more education is never a negative over having less education. So if you can give yourself that leg up and do that, Tyler, that's great. You got a lot of work ahead of you, but I'm cheering for you, man. Thanks for sharing that. All right, next up. Angel Silva writes, "Have you seen the video by Dan Murrell? You'd like it." Yeah, we talked about it on the John Campea Show earlier today. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, Dan Murrell over at Screen Junkies News. Dan is a wonderful dude in this space, a really smart, thoughtful pundit. Anyway, he put up a video basically saying everything I've been saying for the last couple of weeks about all the myths and nonsense that the haters of Captain Marvel, and I'm not talking about people who don't just like the movie. That's fine. That's movies. So, there are movies we like. There are movies we don't like. I'm talking about the people who actively tried to get Captain Marvel to fail. They've been purporting these myths and lies. Captain Marvel needs 750 to break even. No, it didn't. Disney's buying tickets. No, they're not. Anyway, all the stuff I've been telling you, and I've always been telling you, go to the source, go to the source, go to the source. Well, Dan put together today about a half-hour video that very methodically and very coherently, just step by step, walks through the process of all the myths that have been perpetrated by these trolls and just annihilates them with pure facts and logic. And, I mean, trolls don't care about facts and logic. Facts and logic are the natural enemies of trolls because trolls don't care. They're like alternative facts. Anyway, and he just broke it down in a very, like I said, a very coherent, a very methodical presentation of it that was really well done. And I expect no less from a guy like Dan. Casanova Frankenstein writes, real life can be lighthearted for some while dark and violent for others. So why no R-rated movies in the MCU? Separate stories, different audiences, same universe, except it's not different audiences. Look, Bob Iger is the High Lord and Emperor of Disney. That means he is responsible for the entire Disney brand. And there is a trust between the consumers and Disney when it comes to their brand. And he is going to protect that trust and protect that brand at all costs. At all costs. You can't tell parents, here's the next MCU movie and you can bring your kids to it. And here's another MCU movie. Oh, you maybe might not want to bring your kids to it. Like that's the scenario that at all costs Bob Iger will avoid. That's why Bob Iger was very specific in saying, hey, yeah, maybe we've got room to do like a Deadpool, but it would be under a different banner. We would want to make sure there's no confusion with our audience. We're not going to call it Marvel. We're not going to call it Disney. We'll create a different banner or put it under a different banner altogether to limit the confusion, all that kind of stuff. If you're Bob Iger, you can't. I mean, I know it's the cool thing to say, yes, you can. Go ahead, Bob, make the R-rated stuff. But you and I aren't responsible for a multi-billion-dollar empire. And he has to protect that trust that he has with his consumers and with his customers and with his audience. He's got to protect it. And the best way to protect that is to say, hey, look, if you see the Marvel label on something, if you see the MCU label on something, you're safe. You can feel good about coming to it. You can feel good about coming to it with your family. You can feel good about bringing your kids. No confusion. If you see the Marvel MCU brand on something, you're good. You're good. They don't want to get, Bob Iger's not going to let them get into a situation where some MCU movies you can bring your kids to and some MCU movies you can't. Oh, well, you're just going to have to take a guess. You know, they're just not going to get into that situation, nor should they. And we as fans should be totally cool with that. The MCU has been spectacular without R-rated films. Look, I'll tell you straight up, the MCU does not need R-rated films. It doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. They're about to have 7 films in the $1 billion club. They're about to have 2 films in the $2 billion club. They don't need, and we love these movies. They don't need R-rated. They don't need it. There's no point in putting R-rated films in there. And if you want to do R-rated films, well, then you have a mechanism. Create a new banner, like it sounds like what they're going to do, and do it under a different banner and separate it from the MCU. It makes total sense. It's the wise thing to do, and that's why Bob Iger is the High Lord and Emperor of Disney. Anyway, next up, Alan Gonzalez writes, what if you tell us the top 10 actors for a future movie, but can't talk now? Meet me with ketchup and eggs. Yeah. So obviously, Alan's referring to the fact that I don't like doing top 10s. I don't like speculating which actors could play this role and all those types of things. And I really get nauseated at the idea with ketchup on eggs. It just makes me want to vomit when I think about it. So nice one, Alan. Anyway, next up, Benny95 writes, Stan Lee cameo in Avengers Endgame could be as a veteran talking to Cap in the rehab scene TV spot. That wasn't rehab. That was like group counseling. That was a support group. That wasn't rehab. Captain America isn't addicted to cocaine. He's not in a rehab center. Anyway, in the rehab scene TV spot, probably saying, sometimes all we can do is move on, son. I like that. That's a good one. But the one I like even better that I heard as a theory for Stan Lee's cameo in the movie is Tony and Pepper's wedding, which first assumes we're going to get a Tony and Pepper wedding, but it's a Tony and Pepper wedding and Stan Lee's officiating it. That's the best theory I've heard about that so far, but this one sounds pretty good too, Benny. I'm Upset writes, what's more damaging career-wise, Norbit or Love Guru? Well, I'm going to go Love Guru because of this. Eddie Murphy had a long string of terrible, terrible films. And really, his career hitting some road bumps was a multiple cause thing. It wasn't one thing. Love Guru was it. Mike Myers' career was going great. And then all of a sudden, Love Guru, and then he disappeared. Norbit wasn't the single bullet. Love Guru was the single bullet, so I'm going to go Love Guru. Topher Rocks writes, thoughts on Mike Trout's contract extension? Wow, yeah, so Mike Trout just signed the richest contract in baseball history. Look, I know a lot of you get mad when I say it, and so I only say it when you guys bring it up. I don't even consider baseball a real sport. So I don't think any baseball player is worth that money. I don't think any athlete is worth that money. Unless your name starts with the word doctor and you're saving people's lives with spinal surgery and giving children a chance to live, you don't deserve that kind of money. But hey, you know, as Robert often says, it's not about what you deserve, it's about what you negotiate. And if his agent can get him that deal, good on him. Sebastian Gomez writes, John, what if X actor was cast in Y role? Yep. There you go. Everybody loves giving me a hard time about that. Thank you, Sebastian. Benny95 writes, over under 70%, we get a final trailer for Endgame. I'm going to take the over. I'm not going to say 100%. Not saying 100%. But I'm going to take the over on 70 because I do believe we are going to get one more trailer. If the tickets for Avengers Endgame do go on sale on April 2nd, I believe we're getting another trailer on April 2nd. A BAM trailer that's going to end with the words, tickets on sale now. And then all the pre-sale ticket records get busted and get destroyed when it does that. So I'm going to take the over 70% on that. Mr. Hero 17 writes, whatever happened to the Bruce and Natasha romance in the MCU? I was intrigued to see that develop, but nothing happened. Do you ever think that romance will be re-explored? I hope so. I hope so. Now, I understand why they didn't go into it in Infinity War. There was no time. And that movie was already overstuffed with way too much. And that's one of the weaknesses of Infinity War. It was a little overstuffed, but they managed it well. They managed the overstuffing very, very well. To throw in that as well just would have been the last mint that made the guy explode. I mean, it just, there was no time to do it, and there were bigger problems at hand than their love life. There were bigger problems, like an all-powerful maniac trying to wipe out half the life in the universe. So I have no problem with that. I will say, I hope, even if it's just in one 30-second conversation, I hope in Endgame it at least gets addressed. Because that's a pretty big, because that was a big key thing in Age of Ultron. And then just to drop it with, hey, Nat, hey, that's all you're going to get? At least one little conversation to kind of address it a little bit I think would be nice, just to give a little, even if they just mention, hey, in the past year we both moved on. Okay, great. Even they just say one line to address it. I hope they do, because like I said, I really bought into it in Age of Ultron. And if you told me before Age of Ultron Black Widow and Dr. Banner are going to have a romance, I go, come on, really? But then I saw it, and the way they did it was beautiful, and I hope they at least address it a little bit. Mr. Hero follows up with, do you will see a final shot or fight with everyone in Endgame, including the ones that were dusted? Keep in mind, there's still some heroes who haven't met each other face to face. I don't know about that. I don't know. Like, the undusting happens, whether it's the remerging of realities or a literal, they undo the dusting, however they manage it in Endgame. And then have all 33 key characters of the MCU standing there, as the camera slowly pans across all of them standing there like this, and that camera pan takes 18 minutes. I don't know that we're going to get that shot. I don't know that we're going to get their shot. And we don't need the shot. If they do it, great, great. but we don't need that shot. There are other things that this movie will need more, and I hope they focus on that. So I'm going to guess no, but I mean, that would be a big moment, so it's certainly a possibility. Certainly a possibility. I'm just going to guess no, very lightly guess no. All right, Mr. Hero writes, I just want to see Logan walk up to Hulk and ask, how's your throwing arm? Live action, hashtag seal the deal already. Yeah, it's going to be a while before we see any X-Men in the universe, so that's not going to happen. But remember, we did get that fastball special in the one X-Men movie, right? Wolverine did it with Colossus, which I thought was awesome. It would be kind of cool to see him do it with Hulk at some point, but it's not going to be this year. Let's see. Tim Horton's better than Starbucks writes, you deserved an Oscar for your part in Hulk. Hashtag boycott Oscars. What was that scene, or was that scene shot on McMaster University campus? I do not believe it was. At least when I was there shooting, I shot scenes in Toronto and in Hamilton, but it was never on the campus of McMaster. And I don't think the scene you're talking about, I don't think that was shot at McMaster or on the campus. McMaster University, one of the greatest universities in the world, in Hamilton, Ontario. Martin Short went there. It's a great university in a great town, the greatest city in the world, Hamilton, Ontario. Okay. Let's move on here. Heroes Fan Productions. Rob, your headphones. Yeah, every day. See, here's the thing. Every day, Rob, we start the show, and Rob's got his headphones so loud that when I'm talking, I can literally hear the sound of my voice coming out of his headphones and into his microphone back to me. So every day, not every day, but most days, Rob forgets to turn it down. So we start the show, well, greetings and salutations, everybody. And Rob, I need to ask you to turn down your headphones because I'm hearing the loop back. But he's starting to catch on. He's starting, like today. I didn't have to ask him to turn them down today. Josh Quick writes, what's up, John? That Toy Story 4 trailer seems a little dull and redundant. It really should have ended at number 3. Oh, no. Here's the thing, Josh. Here's the thing. Who cares what the trailer felt like? It's a trailer. Who cares? We've seen lots of great trailers to terrible movies. We've seen lots of mediocre trailers to fantastic movies. Who cares? Everybody forgets. When they were coming out with Toy Story 2, everybody's like, why are they making another one? They're just going to, the first one was great. You're going to ruin it. And then when Toy Story 3 was coming out, everybody's like, why make another one? The first two were perfect. Because Toy Story 2 had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And everybody's like, why do it? You're just going to ruin the first two, blah, blah. And then when they announced, Toy Story 4, well, what are you going to do? You should have ended it at 3. And yet every time they put out another one, and every time it's amazing. So at this point, it's time to just trust them when it comes to Pixar and Toy Story. It's just time to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because I've had so many conversations over the years of they shouldn't do a second one, and then they shouldn't do a third one, and now here we are again. They shouldn't do a fourth one. Well, when are we going to learn? It's Pixar with Toy Story. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, hey, did I feel meh about this trailer? Yeah, I felt meh about this trailer. But I don't ever remember jumping up and down about any trailer for any of the Toy Story films. Right? So who cares? It's a trailer. Let's not judge anything on a trailer. A trailer's a trailer. We want to talk about the trailer, we can talk about the trailer. But let's not pretend that just because something's good in a trailer or bad in a trailer doesn't reflect what the movie is going to be. So, no, I do not think they should have stopped at number 3. They've been told they should stop, and they kept going. And every time they have, they've given us another great movie. So, at this point, they get the benefit of the doubt, Josh, I got to say. I agree. The trailer was meh. It was. I thought it was meh. But I have no doubt the movie's going to be incredible. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. Anyway, Keaton Toothman writes, Rob told me last night he likes Jupiter A. WBU. I don't know what Jupiter A is, so I don't know if that's a character or a show or a movie. Sorry, dudes. Like, guys, you can't just abbreviate things. If you want me to answer a question, you got to tell me what it is. I can't sit here and play a guessing game. Sorry about that, Keaton, but I don't know what it is you're talking about. Rogue Mammoth writes, Brightburn, Kansas. Really? Why are they teasing us so much? If this isn't the evil Superman movie, as the trailers have been suggesting, It is. It will be the biggest blue balls ever. Well, I mean, I think it's clear what this Brightburn is. I think they've made it very, very clear. What if Superman had shown up on Earth, but he was a bad kid? Woo! This, I cannot wait. It's easily in my... Look, we got movies like Aladdin and Lion King and Avengers Endgame and Shazam and Pet Sematary and Star Wars, and we've got all these coming out, and I'm telling you what, Brightburn may be in my top 5 most anticipated of the year now because of those trailers. Again, great trailers don't mean the movie's going to be great, but the trailer's job is to get you excited, and they did their job, man. They got me excited. I think we're pretty safe on it, man. I cannot wait to see this movie. Santez Henderson writes, Lucy in the Sky trailer seems twisted. I can't wait. I gotta tell you, man, I was underwhelmed by the trailer. Like, why do studios think that, hey, if we got Natalie Portman in the movie, we have to make all their trailers like Black Swan trailer? Like the, what was that one where she's the singer? Something Vox. Why am I freezing on the name of the movie? Anyway, the trailers did nothing to get people interested in the movie. Then this Lucy in the Sky, which, by the way, Pale Blue Dot was a much better title, in my opinion. I had no idea they changed the title of that movie from Pale Blue Dot to Lucy in the Sky, whatever. And again, this trailer just looked weird. I don't know. There just seems to be this thought, oh, if Natalie Portman's in it, then we've got to do our trailers really artsy. And what about making a trailer to get me interested in seeing the movie? But hey, you know, that's me. Clearly for you, Santez, you're saying you can't wait for it. So clearly it worked for you. So I'm sure it worked for other people too. Maybe I'm just the odd one out on that. But just because of the cast, I am very intrigued by this movie. You got John Hamm. You got Natalie Portman. You got Zazie Beetz. You got, I mean, it's a great cast. So I'm looking forward to it one or the other, but the trailer did nothing to get me more excited. Alan Gonzalez writes, every Avenger movie ends with Thanos smiling. Does it? I know the first one did. Age of Ultron. Is that the do-it-myself one? I can't remember. Is the age? I can't remember off the top of my head if that one was the I'll do it myself one or not. But then, yep, absolutely, this one did. Ended with Thanos sitting back, smiling. Not as quite as big of a smile, but a very satisfied smile. It's true. Jack Humphreys writes, favorite Batman the Animated Series episode? Oh, man, it's been way too long. I couldn't possibly remember an individual episode. I just remember I watched them all, and I loved them, but they were like, I mean, decades ago. I can't remember off the top of my head, man. Santez Henderson writes, Robin's Reckoning. I don't know what that's referring to, Santez. Sorry. Zach Carper writes, John, just wanted to say thank you for the awesome videos you do every day. Also, how about that last fight? I was shocked Till was knocked out. You know why I was extra shocked he was knocked out? Like, if you had asked me before that fight started, could Till get knocked out? I would have said, yeah, sure. Especially, I think this dude's like ranked number 11 or something like that, and he throws heavy. But I became shocked because in the first round, Till ate a couple of shots, big shots, and just smiled, just went, like it looked like it didn't faze him in the least. So I was like, whoa, either this guy doesn't have the power that I thought, or Till's got a much better chin than I thought. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I think it was a left cross, just caught him right on the chin. His head, boom, smacked around like a bobblehead doll. And he was out before his head hit the mat. I mean, it was, ooh, devastating knockout, man. I love the whole card, actually. Let's see. Froygon Jin writes, Endgame predictions are killing me, so here's mine. Over under 85%. Everyone who submitted a super chat today will watch Endgame opening weekend. I think there's a pretty good chance that all of us are going to watch it opening weekend. So I'm going to take the over on that, Froygon. That's a good line, though. 85% is a good line. Eric Grathwall writes, have you ever seen The Producers with Nathan Lane? Absolutely. I think, was that the one? That's the one with Matthew Broderick, right? Yeah. So these two guys, if you've never seen The Producers, it's fabulous. Now, did Nathan Lane, you know what? I think Nathan Lane and Broderick also did it on Broadway. Anyway, the whole idea of it is these guys have to make the world's worst stage play that bombs. the worst Broadway stage musical in history, and they make it about Hitler or something like that. Anyway, it's great. If you have a chance to watch that, you should check it out. Let's see. Mitchell Martino writes, "Hey, John, big fan from New York City. How you doing, Mitchell? Question. In Guardians of the Galaxy, both in comics and film, if Groot dies, all Rocket would have to do is plant a piece of Groot. If that's the case, can they plant a piece of Stormbreaker?" Well, that's not true, Mitchell. At least not in the movies. In the MCU, he can't just plant a piece of Groot and Groot comes back to life. James Gunn has gone on record several times to make that very clear. The Groot we got in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was not the same Groot. It was a new Groot. And they're all named Groot because they're Groot. But it was a totally different person. That wasn't Groot. Because I think we all, including me, at the end of the first Guardians of the Galaxy, when we got little baby Groot in the pot, we thought, oh, Groot's back. He just has to regrow now. Much like when his arm got cut off, he just needed to grow it back, right? Oh, he died, but he wasn't really dead. All he had to do was be put in that pot, and he's going to just regenerate and grow back. James Gunn cleared that up. He said, nope, Groot's dead. That Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is dead and gone. This is a totally different being. This new Groot is a totally different individual. It's a totally different person. So, yeah, he could get another Groot, as in the species. He could get another one, but that teenage Groot that he had spent years with and kind of raising, that kid died in the snap. So in the movies, that's how it functions. So it's a little more like it raises the stakes on it a bit. Anyway, Eric Saul writes, Red Skull at every party. So Thanos grabs her, throws her off a cliff, and I was like, boom, you looking for this? And showing the Soul Stone. I like that. That would be funny. If he actually did that, I think because he's so grim, you know, and Gamora, daughter of Thanos, and he throws him off and goes, dude, I actually made you do it. And he pulled out the Soul Stone. I was just going to give it to you. That's funny. I like that, Eric. All right. ST Trekkie 69 writes, Variety Magazine on the 18th of March reported that Ben Affleck will be... Oh, God. No, they did not. I saw some people running with this. No, they did not. Let's be very, very clear. Variety did not report that Ben Affleck is back. No, they did not. Number one, there is no Justice League 2. There's for starters. Now, what ST Trekkie is talking about was let me pull it up here. Hold on a second. Okay, so there was a story in Variety. Let me get the actual name of it. Because listen, let me tell you right now, if there was a story that Ben Affleck is now back as Batman, that's a headline that's going to dominate the news cycle. That will dominate the entertainment news cycle. That number one, Ben Affleck is back. And number two, Justice League 2 is being made. But neither is true. What was the headline of this story? The story was, this is from Variety. Said Ben Affleck's action star evolution in 10 movies from Dazed and Confused to Triple Frontier. That's the headline. Did you hear anything in that headline about Ben Affleck is back as Batman? What happened was there was this big article about Ben Affleck. And it was to support Triple Frontier. Suppose this movie was coming out, Triple Frontier on Netflix. And they were doing the story, kind of going through and watching the evolution, writing out the evolution of Ben Affleck leading up to Triple Frontier. Now, it was written by a guy named Daniel Neeson. At any rate, the article ends with this boilerplate copy that they clearly took from somebody else, and it was clearly outdated information. So in the final paragraph, it says, unlike with Daredevil, the actor had the opportunity to reprise his role. This is at the very end of the article, okay, at the very end. Had the opportunity to reprise his role as the iconic superhero, returning as Batman in Suicide Squad and Justice League. Affleck will portray the Dark Knight once again in the announced Justice League sequel. That was clearly an error. There is no Justice League sequel, and he's not coming back. Because if they had the news that Ben Affleck was coming back, This wouldn't be thrown in as a last line in an article about, let's look at the evolution of Ben Affleck's career leading up to Triple Frontier. It would be every single news outlet running the headline, Ben Affleck is back. Not to mention a news headline, Warner Brothers doing Justice League 2, neither of which are true. So, no, Variety did not report that Ben Affleck was back. That's incorrect. It was a throwaway boilerplate line at the end of an article about something completely different that was obviously old information or taken from a boilerplate thing that they would just throw in to end certain stories. But no, Ben Affleck is not back as Batman. They did not report. That wasn't their claim, nor is there a Justice League 2. So no, so put that to rest. Put that to rest. Anyway. Radhames Riaz writes, if it is worth it to have a media movie library, when you have Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and already have the movies and TV shows, dude, that is a question I had to think about 3 or 4 years ago, because I used to keep a media library and I would stream it, so I'd be able to stream it to my TV and keep a big media library and all that kind of stuff. But it just got to the point, it's like, I don't need it anymore. Do I still have backups? Yeah, but honestly, no. You can keep everything in the cloud now. I mean, yeah, but it's a very good question. It's one I had to ask myself a while ago. But honestly, the days of, because I remember me and my buddies, like years ago, we'd always like put together these server machines to have in our place, in our apartments or whatever, that could have enough hard drives in it to store all of our movies. And, you know, whether it's Plex or some other kind of media streaming app that you could use to access the server to play the movies on your TV, blah, blah, blah. And we'd spend money on this stuff. You don't even need that anymore. Now all my movies are in Google Play, and that's just that. So it's a great question, and more people are going to have to come to kind of some kind of, and you know, maybe it's still worth it to you to keep it. It just didn't make sense for me, so I kind of got away from it. All right, let's see here. Vaishno Zin writes, chances we see X-Men sneaking in post-credits? 0. Spark the, what if Infinity War ended with a snap to black? Then Infinity War ended with snap to black. Guys, please, please, please don't ask questions that start with what if and then not ask a question. Because you're asking me, what if Infinity War ended with a snap to black? Well, the answer is then Infinity War ends with a snap to black. What's the question? So I don't know if you're asking, what if Infinity War ended with a snap to black? Do you think that would have affected the box office of the upcoming Endgame? What if Infinity War ended with a snap to black? Do you think that would have disappointed some people who were in Infinity War watching the movie then? What if the Infinity War ended with a snap to black? Do you think that would build the secrets that's going on between, like, it's fine if you want to start a question with what if, but then you got to actually ask a question. Because when you say what if, you're just setting up a scenario, but you're not asking me a question. So if you're going to, so I simply don't know what it is you're asking me, Spark. Okay, what if it ended with a snap to black? The answer is that it ended with a snap to black. Please, 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 guys, you guys take the energy and the time and the effort to send in a question. Make sure you include a question. Please make sure you include a question, because I want to give you my thoughts and opinions on something, but if I don't know what it is you're asking, I can't give it. So please keep an eye on that, guys. If you're going to start a thing with what if, actually remember to put a question in with it, because that would be really, really helpful. Santez Henderson writes, what if someone asks another what if question? There you go. There you go. Thanks, Santez. All right. Spark Thou writes, if Suicide Squad 2 turns out bad, trolls are going to say Gunn rushed for Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, you're absolutely right, they will. Absolutely right, they will. But here's my thoughts on this, Spark, is that somebody brought up the other day, it's like, oh, I don't know, man, like Guardians of the Galaxy is James Gunn's baby. Do you think he's just going to rush through Suicide Squad so he can get to Guardians of the Galaxy? And my thoughts on this are, first of all, look, everybody knows I'm a big James Gunn fan. I think the guy is great. I really do. And I'm so excited he's coming back for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And I'm so excited that he's doing a DC and a Marvel movie. I just think that's great. Understanding that, what I said at the time when somebody asked that, like, do you think, oh, I think he's just going to rush through it. I said this. I said, look, James Gunn's a professional. He's been hired to do a job. People are trusting him. People are investing hundreds of millions into him to bring this to life. There are actors who are going to block out their schedules for 4 months or 3 months. There are crews that are, shooting crews and post-production people that are blocking out a year and a half of their time to work and dedicate. There are hundreds and maybe 1,000 people that are going to be working on this, that are relying on him to bring his best. James Gunn is way too professional to go, I'm just going to, whatever, yeah, Suicide Squad, good enough. Now I want to go and do Guardians. He ain't going to do that. No way he does that. Because that would make him a first-rate ass. That would make him a first-rate jerk. And screw James Gunn if he would do that. Screw him if he would do that. But he's not. He's a professional. And he has the opportunity here to do what no one has ever done before. Make a great crowd-pleasing DC movie and a great crowd-pleasing Marvel movie. No one's had the chance to do that before. No one's ever pulled it off before. And he has a chance to do that and become a legend in doing it. James Gunn is going to give everything he has to Suicide Squad. Now you can say, but Guardians is real special to him. Well, guess what? James Gunn had the option. Every studio was offering him any project he wanted. And Warner Brothers included. They even said, look, we have no plans for Superman. If you want to do Superman, we can do Superman. That's how much they wanted. And he wanted to do Suicide Squad. So that is special to him. James Gunn's pro, but you're right. If Suicide Squad 2 doesn't end up great, instead of just saying, hey, like every movie, a director tries their best and maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. There will be saying, the trolls will come out and say he did it just so he could rush through it on purpose or something like that to get to Guardians. And that won't be true at all. James Gunn wouldn't do that. Jesse Keller writes, what TV series will be the next MI franchise? I have no idea what MI, Jesse, is. Sorry about that, man. Costark180 writes, what do you think it makes more sense if Thanos destroyed the Gauntlet to make the snap permanent and the Avengers have no choice but to time travel when they meet Scott Lang? That makes more sense. Then you go on to say, the reason why I say Thanos destroys it is because we see the Gauntlet still working at the end. Well, yes and no. When we see the Gauntlet at the end, it's in rough shape. And the Russo brothers did say in their director's commentary of Infinity War, they said both Thanos and the Gauntlet are, and they used the words, permanently damaged. Now, what does that mean? In one sense, my first thought is like, in a movie when a car gets into a big car accident, it's able to start up and drive away for another half mile and then it goes brrr, and it dies, right? Maybe with one last gasp, Thanos was able to muster enough power in the Space Stone to open up the portals for him to get off of Earth and go to wherever it is he went to. And then maybe that was it. Maybe the Gauntlet still works, but only at like 2% of its power. Because snapping half of the life in the universe out of existence, I'm sure took a lot out of the Gauntlet. Now, narratively, the notion that Thanos destroys the Gauntlet to make sure nobody else can do that again or nobody else can undo what he did, that makes sense. And remember, my theory that I believe, to a degree, I'm not 100% locked that this is going to happen, but it's one of the theories out there and I kind of subscribe to it a little bit, is that Thanos is only in the first act of the movie. The Avengers track down Thanos to try to undo the snap, and they find him, and then they're in utter despair to find out either A, the Infinity Gauntlet just doesn't work anymore, or B, he wrecked it to make sure it doesn't. Either way, it's the same result. Either way, so it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, right? Either way, it's the same result. Whether Thanos destroyed it or whether it was just wrecked from the snap in the first place. So those are possible theories. I kind of give a little bit of credence to that. I don't know, but we're going to wait and find out for sure. So honestly, to me, there's no difference between whether it just doesn't work anymore or Thanos destroyed it because it's the exact same result. The Avengers go and find him. The Infinity Gauntlet cannot do the unsnapping for whatever reason, and so they go back to Earth and are totally depressed until Scott shows up. Now, I'm not sure that it's going to involve time travel or not, or some other type of weird thing, but we're going to find out soon. I think we're only like 35 days away now. Let's see. Sentez Henderson writes, why do you hate golf balls, John? Oh, that's right. I said something about golf balls today, but just to be clear, I don't hate golf balls, but I was just using that in one of my examples this morning. All right, Chris Parsons writes, panels inside theaters where viewers can put in a code of their stubs, which will send a code to their email that can be used to put up a review. No, that's way too much. First of all, now you're having to install panels into every movie theater to do this. That's way too much. Now, what Chris is talking about is we've been theorizing and trying to come up with ideas because Rotten Tomatoes wants to figure out a way to reform the way viewer ratings work on their site, because viewer ratings are useless because they can be gamed way too easy. So we've been trying to come up with these ideas. Like some people think, make it a paid membership, pay $50 a year or even $20 a year and you can register votes. Or then somebody like me is like, take a picture of you with your stub. The best idea I've heard so far, and a few people sent this in, is the idea that, hey, Fandango owns Rotten Tomatoes. So just have people who buy their tickets on Fandango, and then the date of the movie comes and goes, and then once the showtime of the movie passes, a little notification pops up. Thanks for watching whatever movie it is. Thanks for watching Wonder Park. Would you like to rate it? And then you can give it a rating, and then that's the user rating that goes on Rotten Tomatoes. Because you see, at least then the viewer ratings come from people who you know actually watched the movie. And that's the biggest problem with viewer ratings on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, is like there's nothing filtering out people who have never seen a movie to go and then register a vote and create multiple accounts to go and register votes and game the system, right? If you actually have to buy a ticket to confirm you saw the movie to go and register a vote, I think that's a great option. It's not a perfect option, but it's the best option I've heard so far. Unfortunately, so Chris, you're thinking outside the box, which is great, but your thing requires way too much. Like, first of all, you have to spend tens of millions of dollars to install panels and think, why? To have user ratings on a site? Can't do it. Can't do it. It's a little bit too involved, but I like that you're thinking outside the box though, Chris. All right, Ben Rayner writes, I know you don't like the Supergirl show, but the first episode with John Cryer as Lex was on last night, and oh my God, I love him as Lex. So pleasantly surprised. I'm glad to hear that, Ben, but I have no desire to waste one more precious second of my life watching that show. I have no desire. I mean, if the fact that Sam Witwer is in it, and I still won't watch it, that's like, I tried to watch this season just because Sam was in it. Just because Sam Witwer was in it, I'm like, I'm going to put my distaste for this show aside, and I'm just going to watch it because Sam Witwer is great. And he was great. He was great in the episodes I saw, but I just couldn't stomach the show anymore. I just couldn't stomach it anymore. So you're watching it and you like it, great. I like John Cryer, but I have no interest for myself personally to waste another second of my time watching that show. I'm not going to try to deter anybody else from watching it. If you enjoy it, aces, that's great. But not for me. Not for me. Sam Fisher writes, Adam Tickets does what Arjun suggested. I can't remember what Arjun was suggesting, so I can't really comment on that, Sam. But if you guys do remember what he's talking about, Sam just gave you some information. Jared McBride writes, I downloaded a Celine Dion song called Ashes. That's from Deadpool 2. It would have been perfect for Avengers Infinity War with the scene where some of our heroes getting dusted off. I mean, as a joke, yes, but seriously, no. It's too on the nose. It's way too on the nose. It was perfect in Deadpool 2. It was a perfect song for the opening of Deadpool 2. It should have been nominated for an Academy Award. I am still flabbergasted that that song did not get nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song. It was great, unless it just technically didn't meet the rules. I mean, it's just crazy. But yeah, that song, Ashes, is from Deadpool 2, and it's fantastic. Look up the music video. Look up the music video on YouTube. It's fantastic. But no, I don't think it would have worked. Other than as a joke, I don't think it would have worked. It's a little too on the nose, and the musical score, just the music they played with it was perfect. Was absolutely perfect. Let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, I eat spaghetti with ketchup. That's worse than eggs? No, I mean, it still sounds gross to me, but nowhere near as bad as with eggs. Nowhere near as bad as with eggs. I mean, would I want to eat it with ketchup? No, but I don't feel my gag reflex getting triggered thinking about ketchup on spaghetti as much as I have my gag reflex triggered trying to think about ketchup on eggs. So I don't think that's as bad, ZOMG. Luke Blackwell writes, have you seen Toy Story 4 trailer drop today? Well, Luke, that was the first thing we talked about on the John Campea Show this morning. So yes, we did watch it. I was underwhelmed by it, to be honest with you. I was underwhelmed by it. But I have very, very little doubt that the movie's going to be great. But if all we're talking about is a trailer, I'll tell you straight up, I didn't think the trailer was all that impressive. But I'm sure the movie will be. So there's that. Luke follows up with, John, we heard you get asked Star Wars versus Marvel 1,000 times. But if Star Wars had a huge war with the Marvel Universe, who would win and how? It depends on who's writing it. It's the same thing whenever anybody asks me, John, if Superman were to fight Odin, who would win? It depends who's writing it. Who's writing the fight? If a Marvel writer is writing the fight, Odin wins. If a DC writer is writing the fight, Superman wins. Star Wars versus Marvel, who wins? Well, it depends who's writing it. If it's a Marvel guy, the Marvel Universe will win. You know, Galactus will show up or something and gobble up the Empire. If a Star Wars guy is writing it, then they've tricked all the Marvel heroes to gather on one planet, and then the Death Star is going to drop out of hyperspace, blow the planet up. I mean, it really all depends. So it all comes down to who writes it, because that's all that matters. Same thing when people ask, if Star Trek versus Star Wars fought, who won? Well, it depends who's writing it. I mean, that's really the answer. I don't mean it as a cop-out. That is really the answer. It all depends who writes it. Mishta47 writes, I think if you blended the heart of Bumblebee and the action of Alita, you would have a perfect film. I don't know about perfect, but I in theory and in principle, I agree with that. You know, we talked about that a lot this morning because a lot of people got upset hearing one of the producers of the Transformers films saying, we're going to put in some Michael Bayhem into the next Bumblebee movie. And people are like, oh God, no. But wait a minute. If you keep the heart of Bumblebee, because that movie had a ton of heart, something no Transformers movie ever had before it. Heart and real emotion and real character building and all that kind of stuff. If you can keep all that while adding in more action, yeah, why not? It's a great mixture. It's a great mixture. So I'm all for it. As long as you don't sacrifice character, emotion, and heart. As long as you don't sacrifice those things in the name of squeezing in some more action. But if you can just fit in a little bit more action, I'm all for it. Because honestly, look, I love Bumblebee. Love that movie. But is it a fair criticism to say it could have used a little bit more action? Yeah, it probably is. That's probably fair to say. I still love the movie as it is. It probably could have used a little bit more action. So yeah, blending that in, I think that would work really, really well, Mishta. All right. JM Eister25 writes, if pressed, what would you point to as the biggest creative reason why the MCU has stayed so focused and successful beyond anything we imagined? 2 words, Kevin Feige. They have, from day one, been under one creative leader giving overall vision to the whole thing. Now, I know everybody likes to say, oh, but no, you got to give the individual directors freedom to do whatever they want to do. Bull. No, you don't. You have to have somebody. You have to treat the MCU like you're running a television series. All right? In a television series, the directors are not in charge. Directors, quite often in a television series, a different director directs each episode. The real person in charge is the showrunner in the writer's room. Because it's the writers who know what they're doing. That's great. You're directing episode 3. Wonderful. But we as the writers and as the showrunner, we know what's happening in episode 4. And we know what's happening in episode 5. You can't come to us and say, okay, I'm directing episode 3 here, but I've got this great vision for killing off the main character. But we need the main character alive for episode 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Well, give me my freedom as a director. I think the best thing to do for this episode is to kill this character. Well, tough. Because we know where the overall picture is going. We can't let just each individual director come in and do whatever they want. You have to stay within the parameters of where our overall vision is going. And that vision has been dictated and overseen by Kevin Feige and his team. And under the support of Alan Horn and the greater support of Bob Iger. So yeah, if I had to be hard pressed, look, there's many answers to that. But if I had to be hard pressed to just give the one thing, it's simple. They had one guy in charge from the beginning, giving oversight to this entire universe. And I know it's the cool thing to say, give the directors the freedom to do whatever they want to do. That's cool to say. That's cool to say. And enjoy your failing cinematic universe. If you want a successful cinematic universe, have somebody in charge of it that's charting the course of the whole thing. And then when they bring in new directors, make sure the directors are heading in the direction of the boss's vision. And that's why I think the MCU has been so successful when other people have struggled to match that kind of success. All right. Ed Garm 1028 writes, Shazam on IMAX on April 4th and April 5th on Dolby Prime. Thank you, A-List. Anyway, John, when are you coming down to the AMC Tyler 16 here in Riverside? Stay filthy. I was just in Riverside this past weekend, actually. Although I wasn't at the AMC Tyler. I didn't go to it there, but I was in Riverside this weekend. I'll probably be seeing, I might actually go see Shazam on opening weekend out there. Now, I'm seeing Shazam this Saturday, but I'll probably go see it again out, and I'll probably do it out there because, I go out to Riverside, Corona and Riverside about every other weekend because that's where Ann's moms live. Ann's mom lives out there, and Ann's brother Ray lives out there, and our buddy Ryan lives out there. And that's where our dogs stay most of the time. So that's why you don't see my dogs more often. Our dogs are here sometimes, but we can't look after them here. We're not in a place that's good for dogs, so they stay at Ann's mom's place most of the time. So we have them here sometimes. They're out there a lot of the time. So we make sure we go out there every weekend. I don't personally go every weekend. I probably go 3 weekends a month. Ann goes out there every weekend. Ann goes out because she's got to see the dogs every weekend or she goes crazy. But yeah, I'm out there quite a bit. So I'm sure I'll be out at the Tyler again here pretty soon. Okay, where are we at? Apex Caliber writes, what do you say about reports that Detective Pikachu is the start of a Pokemon cinematic universe? Do you believe Star Wars 9 will fall short of 1 billion? Well, one question at a time, Apex. So we'll talk about that Detective Pikachu one. Oh, no duh, of course. Look, every studio, when they're launching a movie, they have dreams of franchise. Just most of them are smart enough to not do what the Power Rangers did with the last one. We're going to make 7 Power Rangers movies. Don't you think you should let the first one come out first and see if it's any successful? Nope, we're planning 7 movies. Look how that turned out. Or the Universal Monsters universe. We're going to have all these monster movies. Well, why don't you wait to see how The Mummy with Tom Cruise does first? Nope, we're already going to take pictures with Javier Bardem and Johnny Depp and just showing them they're going to be in these movies. And we're going to start publicizing these movies now. Okay, let's see how that works out for you. Then The Mummy comes out and it kind of flopped a little bit. So, but I have no doubt, of course, you don't make a movie about a franchise thing like Pokemon without in the back of your head the desire and the plan is, if this is successful, we want to do more and turn it into an entire franchise. Of course they do. Every movie that studios want to put out these days, they're thinking franchise. It's all about franchise. The real money's with franchises. And if they can make something into a franchise, they're going to do it. And something like Pokemon, whatever, that's just begging to be a franchise. So yeah, no kidding. Now, whether or not they'll do it or not, let's see how successful the movie is. Looks like it's going to have a big opening weekend, but let's make sure they don't get ahead of ourselves like Power Rangers did, like the Universal Dark Universe did, and all that kind of stuff. Let's just hold your horses until the first one comes out, does its run, then start planning the franchise. But absolutely, that's what they're thinking. Absolutely, that's what they're thinking. Okay, Cobra writes, if not Pikachu, could Endgame stay #1 till Godzilla? No. No, because Godzilla's not coming out till the end of May. So look, Detective Pikachu, I think, has a very, very strong chance of taking the #1 spot at the box office away from Endgame on Endgame's 3rd weekend. especially right now since they're projecting 75 to a $90 million opening for Detective Pikachu, which is huge. I don't think Avengers Endgame is making $90 million on its third weekend. So I think Detective Pikachu is. But even if it was not, the following week, Avengers' fourth week, even if Detective Pikachu doesn't pass it on Detective Pikachu's first weekend, it'll probably pass it on its second weekend when Avengers is going into its fourth weekend. Now, on Avengers and Endgame's fourth weekend, you got like John Wick 3 opening. I don't think John Wick 3 will pass it. But then the week after that, in Endgame's fifth weekend, you've got... what's that little film called from Disney? Oh yeah, Aladdin. You got Aladdin opening the week before Godzilla. By its fifth weekend, at best, Endgame's going to be pulling in 25 million, maybe on its fifth week, which is amazing for a fifth weekend. I mean, that's crazy big for a fifth weekend. 25, 30, in that neighborhood. Do you not think Aladdin's not going to make 250 million opening weekend, but do you not think Aladdin's going to make at least 40 or 50 or 60 million opening weekend? Of course it is. So I think Detective Pikachu will beat it on its third weekend, which is wonderful. But if for whatever reason it doesn't, either Pikachu will pass it on the following weekend, or if they do actually get down to the weekend of the 24th, you've got Aladdin coming out. And Aladdin will destroy it because it's going to be in its fifth weekend, right? So Aladdin will crush it. And then the week after that, you have Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So no, I give it an absolute zero chance that Endgame is still the number one movie by the time it gets to Godzilla. Zero chance. All right. Ab Hisek Das writes, money to the altar of Feige and Ryan on that third weekend. Would love to see Endgame for the third time and Pikachu for the first time. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. That's a great weekend. Go back to see Endgame again and watch Detective Pikachu. That's a good couple of days, man. Actually, the whole month of May. Listen to this for the month of May. I actually got the schedule because I got Box Office Mojo open here. So the May, you got Long Shot. That looks really funny. That's the new Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron comedy. That looks really funny. I'm looking forward to that. You've got Detective Pikachu. You've got John Wick 3. You've got Aladdin. You've got Brightburn. Holy crap, I cannot wait to see Brightburn. And you got Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and you got Rocket Man. And you got Ma, and Ma looks really good too. May looks amazing. It's not going to be the biggest box office, month of the universe, but that is a great. How many? Okay, Rocket Man, Ma, Godzilla, Brightburn, Aladdin, John Wick, Detective Pikachu, and Long Shot. That's 8 films I'm really looking forward to seeing in May. And then you sprinkle in there 5 or 6 more screenings of Avengers Endgame. It's shaping up to be a pretty good month. Okay. John Key writes, where are we? Hi, y'all. How and when did John and Robert meet? Also, can we get a 60-second review of the anniversary by Rob? Thanks. Well, Rob's not here. We met we met at my old place where I used to work. Of course, John Schnepp and I did a show called Heroes. I had created this show called Heroes a few years before. I got Schnepp to run it, and he did obviously a magnificent job. And he brought in this guy called Robert Meyer Burnett that he knew. And so a lot of Heroes was me, John Schnepp, and Robert Meyer Burnett. That was Heroes. That was the average Heroes crew. It was me, Robert, and Schnepp. And that's how me and Robert first met and got to know each other. And we stayed in touch a bit, and then after Schnepp passed away, he and I connected more, and then we just talked about how we'd like to continue to work together, and lo and behold, here we are, and that's how we met. We met through John Schnepp, as a matter of fact. Okay, let's move on here. Javier Belmer writes, as a composer myself, that's cool. Hans Zimmer is fantastic. Just doesn't motivate me to watch a film. At least not like Jay Newton Howard, Jay Williams, A. Desplat. Yeah, look, certain composers will do it for you. I do have to admit, though, Zimmer does kind of do it for me. Like I find his music in movies very emotionally rousing to the scene. And Man of Steel is a great example of that. Dark Knight's a great example of that. But really, when you go through, and Rob kind of brought this up today when we talked about Zimmer composing Dune, he just has that ability to understand the DNA of a scene and then apply musical notes that rouses the emotion that scene is calling to elicit. And he seems to have a real gift for that. And so it is kind of a draw for me, I got to admit. But yeah, you've listed off some great composers yourself there, Javier. And then Javier writes, thoughts on Google's announcement today of Stadia. I am so excited. I'm not even the world's biggest gamer. I am so excited. For those of you who have not heard about this, Google announced this new thing where consoles are about to become a thing of the past. Here's the thing. Let's say you want to play... Right now, if you want to play, let's say God of War, right? This past year's Game of the Year, God of War. You have to buy an expensive piece of hardware. You have to buy the PlayStation 4, and you got to buy the physical game, and you got to hook it up to whatever. What Google has done is that they have set up where, hey, the game runs on our data centers, on the highest of high-speed machines with the greatest graphics processing, and you can play it right in your Chrome browser. So you can buy the game, and the game is now in the cloud for you. You can just open up a Chrome browser, and you can use your Xbox remote or your PlayStation remote or a special Google remote that they're making. Plug it into the USB on your phone, plug it in or connect it by USB to your tablet or your computer or your TV, and you can play all the top-notch AAA games, and you don't have to worry about having a real expensive game machine that can run it or an expensive console that can run it. You can just play it on your Chrome browser. It's going to change the game. It's a complete game changer. I'm very, very excited for it. All right, Pirate King Luffy writes, can animes in the shonen genre work to be live-action franchises? I personally would love to see a One Piece franchise, potentially shared universe. I'll be honest with you, Pirate King, I don't even know what the shonen genre is, so I'm the wrong guy to ask, so I can't answer that. My apologies, man. And the final question today comes to us from Somber Castle, who writes, what if you took a shot every time somebody says what if? Then I would get alcohol poisoning pretty fast. I would come down with alcohol poisoning pretty darn quickly if that was the case. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of the companion video. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you, everybody, for sending in these topics and questions and supporting the channel that way. Hey, guys, let me plug one more time. We have a brand new podcast that we have. Let me see if I can find it here. There it is. We have a brand new podcast that we do that you can get on iTunes or any of your favorite podcasting apps called Best Movie, Worst Movie. It's me, Rob, an Olympic gold medalist and film fanatic, Cody Miller. And each week we go to a different category. Episode 1 was MCU movies. The newest episode that we just put up is about 80s action films. And we discuss and debate and talk about what is the best movie of that genre or of that category, and what is the worst movie of that category. And it is a lot of fun. We just put up the second episode. It's up now. Just go onto your favorite podcasting service and look up Best Movie, Worst Movie. If you still can't find it for whatever reason, just search John Campea. You should be able to find it. And we were thrilled because this morning we woke up to find out that our podcast, after just 2 episodes, we are number 2 on the iTunes podcast charts, just behind Ellen. So we're just behind Ellen there. So guys, please go and check that out. Subscribe to the podcast. It would really help it out a lot. Subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast, comment on the podcast. It would be awesome if you did. So we appreciate that a lot, guys. All right, don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow for the next episode of the John Campea Show. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.